Welcome to Creative Pages with Catherine. I'm Catherine, and I have the full length version of the project I am trying for our Try It Tuesday, March 2023, using the quilt cards just leveled up, a quilt inspired card from Maymay Made It that she live streamed about 3 weeks ago. And I am going to be using our Painted Garden collection. I told you all in my Sketch With Me series that I wanted to use up some of the scraps we created, and this is going to be one of the ways we are going to use those. So let's get to trying out this fun project with this quilt-inspired card. So here we are with the Painted Garden Tone on Tone index sheet, which I will be using for our squares that are going to be the base for our quilted pieces. Maymay used a lighter density cardstock, but this is basically like a free sheet of cardstock we get with every paper purchase. And so that's what we're going to be using for this project, or my version of the project. I also have a few scraps that I had left over from our Creative Memories virtual crop, the flower layout I did with this collection that so many people seem to really enjoy what I did with the petals on that one. So I thought, let's see if we can use up some of our scraps. And then I also have our scraps from our Sketch With Me series. And this one has just so many different colors that we can mix and match to use for our quilted part. I do have a sheet of dark green cardstock because we are going to be creating 2 cards with it. And then I have our sticker sheet that has our verbiage, our words on it. And then we're going to probably be using a couple of these little ladybugs as well. So that is what you are going to need for my version of Mamay's project. Let's go ahead and start out with our card bases. And for that, you're going to need your 12-inch trimmer. We need to cut it at 11 inches by 4¼ inches. So let's take an inch off of our cardstock first. And that gets us to 11 inches. Uh-oh. I didn't quite push hard enough. That's the tension cutter on our trimmer. There we go. Okay. That happens. That's why I don't move the paper until I know I've gotten through. Turn your paper 90 degrees, and then we are going to cut it twice at 4¼ So 4¼ twice, because our card is going to run this way. So it's a little bit different than what I normally do, but this will fit into one of our standard size card envelopes from our blank card kits. And we are making a regular size card. It's the standard A2 card size. If you are tracking on that, the 4¼ by 5½ is the standard size for most cards. Take out your straight blade, grab your scoring blade, and then we are going to score at 5½ inches and then also at 4¼ So for those who aren't overly familiar with our trimmer, the 5½ inch is pretty much butt up to where our ruler essentially pulls out to do the full page. It also is in this little crack in here, the 5½. But if you shut your bar, it's exactly here. So it just makes life easier to do it that way. So we did the 5½, and now we also need 4¼ So bring in your same piece just over to the right a little bit more, because we are going to do an interesting little fold on this guy. So we have 2 score lines there. You can see this was my 5½, and this is my 4¼ And then we're going to do the same thing on our second piece. So 5½, And 4 1/4 again here. We're going to score. Bring it over. You don't even have to lift up your paint thing if you don't want to. There we go. Because essentially we're just going a little bit down the line here. So that is it for our scoring blade. You can go ahead and put that away. Put your straight blade back in so that way you don't forget that you had your scoring blade in there. Let's set this aside for just a moment and let's go ahead and fold down. Grabbed my bone folder here. We're going to go ahead and fold it at the 5 1/2 mark here. And then we actually are folding opposite way for our 4 1/4. So just go ahead and grab that. So this is where our piece, our quilt inspired piece is going to go. And then we're going to have a little sticker up here in this piece here, but our card is going to flip up this way. So something a little different. We actually are going to go ahead and grab your tape runner and stick this part down. So that way you don't forget this is how your card is going. And you can use your precision point adhesive for this as well. If you really want to make sure it's going to stay really stuck. Our tape runners are strong, but the precision point adhesive is really strong. There we go. Let's get our tape runner under here again. There we go. And now that is stuck down and ready to go. Okay. So we have our 2 card bases folded and ready. And I'm going to go ahead and set those up here with easy to grab when I'm ready for them. Let's bring our trimmers back in. And we need to get our index sheet first because we are going to cut 4 2 3/4 inch squares. And it doesn't really matter which way you're going with it because we're going to use the white side of this. So that was 2 3/4. Now we're going to turn this 90 degrees and go at 2 3/4 again. Here we go. Just making sure to try to be precise here as much as possible. With our 2 3/4 inch squares. Oops. Okay. And so now this is scrap essentially, but it's really small. You could use it for up here if you want, if you're using a lighter cardstock. For me, I think that that little white piece pops just a little bit too much on my green. So I'm probably going to be using a scrap from our designer paper. So that one is just going to go ahead and be set aside. So we also need 2 bases for our squares to go on once we get our strips on here and we get everything cut. We actually are going to need a base to stick it on, to put it on to our card base. So we actually need this to be 4 1/4 by 4 1/4, and then we're just going to trim off the little bit of excess, but want to allow us to have that little bit of extra just in case we need it. And especially since this is my first time trying this project, I want to make sure that we have that extra space just in case. So here's 4 1/4 by 4 1/4 once, and then here's 4 1/4 for a second time. And then there we go. And essentially we're just using up our index sheet, which is great. We're not wasting any cardstock or anything else. Now we also need a series of 1/2 inch strips, and Maymay cut hers a little bit over the 1/2 inch. She did a 1/2 inch plus a 1/16. And well, you know, that's up to you if you want to do it that way. I actually have this strip that's already 1 inch, and I'm going to go ahead and center it and cut it in half. right in between my lines here. I need to get my multi-purpose tool to help me hold this in place. Otherwise, it might slip a little bit on me because essentially it's going directly into the housing here. And there we go. So we can use both sides of this strip on our quilt inspired piece here, but I'm going to go ahead and just take one first. We need 5 strips for each square, and we need them at the 2 3/4 inches because that's what the length of our squares are. So let's see how many we get off of here, and then we'll see if I cut that second strip. I probably will wind up cutting it, but let's go with this first. Like I said, it's my first time trying this one as well. So it's kind of good to get a feel for what we can actually get out of this. And oops, I think I might have cut that other one at 3 inches. Let's see here. Nope, I actually got it at 2 3/4. That's good. All right, one more 2 3/4 here. All right, so it looks like we get 4 strips off of each one. And if you all remember my sketch with me, you can save these little pieces and do another card showing that stained glass effect that we used on that. So I think I'm going to flip. Actually, I'm going to just go ahead and cut this other strip. So we're going to do about 1 inch from each one again. We'll see the stripes a couple of times. Let's see. Oh, maybe not. No, let's just do one. Let's do 1/2 inch. So that way we see our stripes and our yellow. And because we have so many options here, I think we're going to have enough papers to do this from. So I'm also going to cut, let's see, I wonder if that's too thin. Yep, that's too thin up there, but that might not be too thin down here. I always like to work with what extra scraps I have here. So then this way, we save more paper. And granted, we have this piece here, so I might try to fussy cut a little bit to avoid my fold and essentially make this piece the little scrap strip that I put up to the top here. So let's see what we get. Let's go ahead and start on this end. And that's what I get for folding my paper, huh? Who knew that I was going to wind up being able to get 1/2 inch off to try a quilt inspired card from. So we want 2 at 2 3/4. That's going to show the bright pink side, and I want 2 that's going to show my other side. Let's see. That's right in the middle there. Let's see here. Okay, so this one is on this side. We got some florals. No, I'm not going to be able to avoid my fold, but that's okay. I think, well, we're going to try it and see how it turns out. Or maybe I should just pull. Well, I guess that's not too bad because the leaf actually covers it up. Ha! Look at that. Wound up working out after all. Okay, so we have, let's see. We need 5 strips for each square. So far I have 1, 2, 3, and 4. Well, no, because we have 4 strips for each. No, we don't. Okay, so we need how many total? So if we need 5 strips for 4 squares, we need 20 total. And we will be mixing and matching these. So I have 4, I have 8, and I need 12 still, right? If my math is correct. I guess we'll figure it out. We'll use this orange piece later if we need it. So let's see, this green would be a good addition. We have another shade of pink. We have more green. I have this orangey color. So let's start with these 2 because that'll give us 8 more. 8 and 8 is 16. And then I need 4. So let's actually, this is the same as that one. So let's take it from this smaller pieces and let's go with, we have pink. We have, here's a white. Okay, let's do this other yellow. All right, so let's start with this one. Actually, let's, I don't know if we want to be more dramatic or less dramatic. Let's be more dramatic. Why not? So I'm going to use these two, the ones with the woven linen look on the front side. There we go, get it close enough to the camera so it'll focus for you all. And then on the back side has the kind of cross pattern. It is two of the ones that I had used for our sketch with me. So there's a 1/2 inch off of that one, and let me get a 1/2 inch off of this one as well. And let's go ahead and get these cut at the 2 3/4. And this is usually what I'm doing before I go on for the live streams or most of my videos. But since this was the actual Try It Tuesday, I thought, well, I'm sure people actually might want to see the entire project. So that's what I'm doing. I also do the entire project in my project recipe mashup series. Our classes, those are available through my website, creativepageshub.com. Let's see, I need to flip 2 of those. So if you'd like to join me for one of those, I do one for every single collection that comes out, just like I do the Sketch With Me series for every single collection that comes out. The mashup is a little bit different. We actually do a project recipe that has been created by our home office, and I do it for the actual collection, and then I do it with another collection that's kind of contrasting so you can see how it turns out with 2 different collections. Okay, so we need 4 more. Let me see here. How wide is this one? That's about 6 inches, so I should be able to get 2 strips off of this and have enough. Let's hope my math is correct. And I do try to go at this slower pace for the mashup as well, because I know if you're crafting with me, you want me to go a little bit slower. And if you're watching a live stream and you want to do it later, then I can go a little bit quicker and have the pieces pre-cut, and then later you can come back in and cut and try out the project if you want. So here we go. Okay, our last strips. Oh wait, you know what? I did only need 2, didn't I? Well, that's okay. So we actually have 1 of each of these. All right, so that's 20, right? 4, 8, 16, oops. 4, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. Oh, wait, 17, 18, 19, 20. We did need them. Okay. So I know I've said before, math isn't always my strong suit, but there we go. Worked out. And we'll see once we go to put these on. Let me find my parchment board here. If you haven't seen my parchment board before, it is a sturdy piece of cardboard with parchment paper over it, and I use electrical tape to hold it on. That way I don't have anything to catch it like staples or what have you on the front side, and it just works beautifully for these projects where you need to use a lot of repositionable tape. And we have these smaller strips. So I'm going to go ahead and start. I guess it really doesn't matter because each one of them has one flipped over. So although with this one it kind of does, because I knew I wanted to put this side up. So I'm going to go ahead and just start with that one first. And then we'll go ahead and flip one of these. Hopefully I'm not confusing anybody. I just figured that way if they're already on the side I need to put tape on, I don't need to flip them, do I? Because I've already done the flipping, and I'll wind up with the same exact amount of papers. I just need to, whoops, that one I did flip, didn't I? Okay, after I just said I wasn't going to flip anything. It's fallen over on its own now. Trying to make me a liar. I am not. Okay, so let's actually go ahead and grab our first one now because we need a little bit more of diversity in our papers here. Let me actually do one of each and then we'll see as we go. Oh, what the heck, let's just do them all. And then that way I'll be able to just go ahead and trail through and stick them all on quicker for you. I'll run out of space on my board though, I think because I have some things crooked up here. There we go, scoot that one up. Here's this one. And one more. Well, where can you go here? Okay. So we have our repositionable tape on everything. If you haven't seen our repositionable tape before, it has a series of small dots that come out of the tape runner that make it really easy to be able to move them right away if you wind up placing something where you don't exactly want it. And then you can pick it up easily, but then it gets stronger as it sits on the papers. So, okay, this one I want on the end, so I probably should wait to do that one. Let's go ahead and grab this one. And this is essentially just doing random strips here. Probably don't want two yellows together. Let me grab a green. Okay, so this, maybe by her doing the wider strips, she wound up with 6 on each. I don't know. So we're going to have to go back and cut a little bit more to cover our squares. I thought I did the math right. Maybe not. We do need 6 of these on here, it looks like. Either that or maybe that's why she did the extra 1/16 of an inch. So that way she could get the 5 on here. But we're just going to do this extra. Yep. So that must have been what she had that stuck over. So essentially you're doing, I don't know if you would want to do a 3/4 inch and just make it so you have less, but it's interesting enough with all the different patterns. So we'll see. I'm going to go ahead and keep going, and if I need to cut more, I'll cut more and I will figure it out. But this is where it's the trying it part, and you all can see why somebody explained it a certain way in the first place, and I did mine just at the half because I knew I had that one strip that was 1 inch. But it came back, and you can see where we need just that little bit more. Put another green here, and then I'll put that pink. And I'm just randomly picking up whatever I think will look good next to the one that's already here. Okay, hang on, I need to pick that one up because I can see I have a lot of white on the edge. Oops, well, maybe it's because I had a second square underneath there. Here we go. I guess if you're only working on one square, it makes it a little bit easier. Okay, let's do this one instead, and we'll finish with a white. That'll be okay. Oh, that's the same one. I guess we probably don't want the same. You want to mix it up as much as possible. That's that one I just used. So let's use this yellow. There we go. Okay. Okay, so there's number 2. Here comes square number 3. And I'll go ahead and start with this pink that I was going to put on the other one and then changed my mind. And all right. Whoops, over just a little bit too much on that one too. So the other thing you can do is if you want to make it your strips slightly longer than the 2 3/4, because I did exactly 2 3/4, just because I thought, well, then that way I won't have quite so much trimming to do at the end. Oops, that one, it looks like I made 3 inches. Then that way you can probably go a little bit quicker with your squares. Let's actually do this one, and then we'll do another one on the end. That's a little bit more neutral here. Yep. So I need to do 4 more strips. Oops, for our last one. Here we go. You can see where I got my tape a little crooked on that one, so it didn't stick. But now it is. Okay, so there's that one. So I've got 2. I'm going to just go ahead and put these down so I don't lose track of them. And then we'll go ahead and cut 4 more from, I guess probably from this one we can get 2, and then maybe from this one, since we do have some, well, that's probably not enough to do. Let me check my ruler real quick to do the 2 3/4 twice. There's 3 inches. There's a 1/2 inch. I can get 1. All right, so we'll just cut it off the side of this other one. Grabbing my trimmer back out. Okay, this way we can use both sides of the paper again. And okay, here's one. So our 2 3/4 is here. As I've lined up. There's one. I'll put this over on my parchment board. So I have it ready to add the adhesive to. Oops, back to 2 3/4 here. And this is scrap because it's just such a small piece. Flipping it over. So here I've got my 2 strips there, and I've flipped one. So that way when I go to put my adhesive, I'll be good. And I think I'm just going to take it from the shorter end. Here is our 1/2 inch coming down. Oops. Here we go. Let's get our 2 3/4 twice now. There's 3 inches. There's 2 3/4. And one more. That's the other nice thing with all of our papers being double-sided. We could just make up our strips here as well. I'm going to stick that on my little pile of extras and bring this back in. Let's grab our tape runner again and get our last 4 strips on. Okay. Whoops. All right. Just trying to randomly mix it up. I guess I could have gone back down and pulled one of these other ones to give it a little more distinction. Maybe I will do that. Move the stripes over, or move the yellow over. Okay, where did I put my multi-purpose tool? I know I had it out earlier. So holding the thing on the trimmer, here it is. Okay, so the nice thing about our multi-purpose tool is it had that pointy side I used earlier to hold it onto the trimmer, and now I can use it kind of as a spatula almost to bring up that strip. I'm going to add just a little bit more adhesive back to it. We'll put this one up here. Let's see. Don't want the orange together. I don't want to have too much pink together. So let's do this here. And then I will put maybe this orange piece in here. Okay. So apparently my half inches aren't exactly half inches, or you have some variance. So I'm going to just go ahead and scoot my other strips over just a little bit because I have a little bit of white space showing. So just getting it fixed so that way they're up against each other. There we go. Grab the next strip. Whoops, I think I'm going to grab the next strip. There we go. It's just a matter of catching the seam a little bit here. I might as well go ahead and work up this last one too while I'm at it. Bring them both up. Put them both back down. There we go. And the last one now. This is pink. Okay, so there are our 4 squares. And now we need to grab our microtip scissors, since they have the special coating on them, and we know we're going to be cutting through some of the tape here. As we flip these over, you can see I do have a little bit of repositionable tape showing at the top here, which before I showed you with the dots, might be harder to see with this pattern, but that's there. And this way I don't goop up my scissors at all. I'm just going to go ahead and cut along where this white square is. And it looks like I have a little bit coming off the edges here. So I'm going to just go ahead and go around it real quick, making sure that my pieces aren't sticking off anymore. Okay, so my first square is now done. I have it nice and clean edged all the way around. Okay. And so when we do our quilt square, it's going to be a little bit different than what Maymay did because her measurements were slightly different. And also we have this shorter strip here. Let me actually add, I can tell this one is just a little bit coming up just a little bit here. And I don't want that to be, when we go to cut through these, I want it to make sure it's stuck on good. Okay, here comes our third one. Again, just following the seam of my index sheet that we used as the base for our square. And last one. There we go. Got just a tiny bit sticking out here as well. So I'm going to trim off those little parts there. And there we go. My scissors are good to go for my next cuts. These are scraps that are going to go in the trash. I don't do that all that often, but with this we need to. And now we need to grab our trimmers back out again. Let me move some of this extra paper here. Grab your trimmers, and then we're going to cut these into a diamond. So we're cutting it along the seam here. So we're going to want to angle these the same way for all 4 of these. So let me make sure I get them all the same direction. And that way I think it'll look a little bit tidier on our cards. We can use our cutting guides to make sure that we're going to get through the point of our squares, which is one of my favorite features of our trimmer. So there we go. We have a nice precise cut right through the middle of our square. We're making diamonds, and we'll figure this out in a minute. Let's go ahead and cut the other 3. There we go. I'm going to use my other cutting guide. I can tell I'm already just ever so slightly off. There we go. That looks so much better. Okay. So there's number 2. And I'm just stacking these over here to the side. Here comes cut number 3. And number 4, here we go. All right. Okay, so there are our 4 diamonds that we've just cut, or triangles, squares that are now triangles. Go ahead and set your trimmers aside again. And we are going to stick these on to our 4 1/4 by 4 1/4 squares that we cut earlier. So essentially we just need to pick some random ones. We're going to take the actual long end of our let's see, we need the cut end out to make a diamond. Let's just go ahead and take this whole right side. The cut ends are going out to make a diamond. 1, 2, 3, and 4. And that is what makes our quilt square essentially here. There we go. All right, and then this is going to go this way. Okay. Had to definitely think about that one a minute. I think we're okay with our patterns. I like that I used all the different colors. I'm going to grab my regular tape runner so then that way we can adhere it on to our square because we want it to stay nice and tight on here. This is what's going to go on our card front with a little bit of trimming. So you're just going to come in about 1/8 of an inch from your edges. So that way, you know, we're a little bit away from the corner. And then essentially we're just going to make our square, our quilt square. So you're putting these back together and it doesn't really matter as much on that second one where it's going to. And you can piece these together how you want. However you think your strips look pretty. There's number 3. And you can see why it's so nice to make sure that you're precise when cutting your squares into diamonds because you really do want them to come back together in a nice square shape for our card front. Okay. There we go. So now all I have to do is take my scissors. I'll go ahead and grab my microchip scissors again. And we're just going to cut around this to make our square for our card front. Now, if you want to leave the white, because if you're going to use a little white box in the top, you can leave it. But I am going to pick something else. I need to actually check my scraps and see what I'm going to use because I'm going to use a piece from our scraps for our sticker base. That's going to go on the top of the card for our sentiment. All right, there we go. And then this is going to be the front of our card, and it's going to have just that nice little green outline on it. There we go. And you can see where it's going to flip up. And there you have it. So let me finish up the second square here real quick. That makes it easy to see again. Okay. So I have to piece together the other sides out first. So first you're essentially making a diamond and then you're making your square because it's easier just to think about it that way, I guess, as you're going out to in. Let's see here. I feel like I've got too much floral together here on that one. Let's try this way. One more time. Okay. I guess you can turn it whichever way you want once you get them stuck down, once you get the pieces where you want to have them placed. And like I said, essentially you're going to start just coming in a little bit from your white edges here so you can cut off that excess as you go around. Getting ready to build our square here. And I do love the quilt inspired projects. That was one of my very first YouTube challenge videos, was a quilt inspired box with a quilted star on it that I did for one of the thrift flip road trips. It's been a while. I need to actually do the road trip again too. But we're doing Try It Tuesday and we'll see when I can get back to the road trip. Although I'm going on a road trip myself this summer. We're getting ready to move from New Mexico. So we're going to have to figure out how to keep up the YouTube channel from the road a little bit here. It'll be interesting for my virtual crops. I think instead of live streaming, I think I may have to do a premiere with a pre-recorded video because some of the places we're going don't have the best bandwidth, I think, for video recording. Okay, so here's number 2. Oops, I think I went a little bit not close enough. I can see my white. So let me just get that extra little piece off there. Okay, here we go. So we have these little scraps that we cut off from our square. And now let's figure out what we want on the top piece. So I figured out the 3/4 inch by 3 3/4 is what's going to be nice to go across the top of our thing. Let's go ahead and stick these down. Oh my goodness, so many colors. It looks so pretty. And when you put it on, you just want to kind of center it. Oh, I can tell my seam is just off just a hair. There we go. Okay. Oops, wrong tape runner. Let's grab the white one so we have it on nice and tight. Here we go. Here's number 2 here. Just going on nicely here again, giving it that little 1/4 inch going around it. And now, what should we use for our top? Maybe we should use this little strip and have that just little bit of burst of color in the top. Okay, so I need 3/4 inch by 3 3/4 inch. So 3/4 looks like is what I'm going to be cutting first. We'll see if I can get 2 of them out of this or not. Probably only be able to get 1. Let's see here. Whoops, I had a little triangle from cutting my squares here. 3 3/4. Yep, we're just going to get 1 for each. So that's going to be up at the top here. Here's another one to use for another card later. 3/4 inch here. And whoops, I may need my extra fingers here so I don't squash my actual fingers. There we go. 3/4 inch. We have just a little bit left from our what was a scrap. What did I say? 3 3/4. 3 3/4. We did so much 2 3/4 earlier. Needed to double check that. There we go. Let's go ahead and put this down. Let's see here. I think 3/4 is okay to use the regular tape runner. Yep. So that's just going through the top part of our card. And adding just a little extra pop of color. A little extra base for our stickers, for our title. I don't know if you have any quilters in your life. They might enjoy getting a card like this. Here's my sticker sheet. So I saw this one that has, let's see, we have the little things here. And you can put these on foam squares if you want. I think I actually am. Going to pop this one up and give it a little extra oomph, a little extra dimension to our card. Whoops, I'm getting stuck on my thumb there a little bit. Okay, so here's our little things, kind of centering that as best I can. And how's about maybe a ray of sunshine or my happy place if you're going to go visit home. So here I'll do this one without the foam square so you can see the difference when I hold it closer to the camera for you in just a moment. Whoops, I can get that one on straight. There we go. And then we're going to add a couple of little ladybugs that we have here just to also add a little extra interest to our card. Looks like we have some different size ladybugs here. That one's really small. We have some on our other sticker sheet as well. So if you want to match sizes, you can. I'm just going ahead and putting them on here. So there we go. There's our first one with our little things. And that opens like that. And you can just write your sentiment there. You can use either a black pen or grab one of our chalking pens. They show up really well on the darker cardstocks. And here we go with this one as well. So there you have it. The other thing I wanted to do, yes, because one of the things Maymay did in her video was she did a quilted effect to hers. And I think I'm going to just go ahead and we're going to grab one of our pens. This is our dual tipped black pen. And she just had a stamp to do this, but since I don't have a stamp, I am just going to go ahead and add some swirls going through, just as if we had an actual quilt machine to create some designs for us. So you're just kind of creating some dashes through your page, and you can do it just with a pen here. And we have so many colors you can pick from. You don't have to use black. Just thought it would be an easy one that you would be able to see easily on camera here. Just going to go ahead and keep this one going through the circular motions here. Let's go ahead and add maybe one or two more here. Just because when you have quilts, you really do get a lot of like interesting little seams where they run to hold the fabric down. Some of them they call the dizzy quilts, I think. I think my mom has made a couple of those. She's an avid quilter. And we're just going to fill in a little bit where it looks like we need a couple extra stitches running through. And let's see, where else am I missing any? Maybe over here just a little bit. I've got a couple of wider spots through here. Oops. And maybe going that way. This is kind of fun. You just kind of figure out where you're missing stitches and add them in where you feel like you want to put them. What do you think? I just kind of created my own little quilted design. So whether you want to add the stitches or not, you can see the difference here side by side, and it's up to you. But I thought I'd better try it on the Try It Tuesday. video. So that is it for this project. I appreciate you watching the full length version of it. If you haven't already subscribed, I would really love it if you did. And of course, like this video if you've liked it. Leave me a comment if you have any questions, or let me know which one you like better. Do you like it better with the stitches or without the stitches? I'm curious to know which one should I send to my mom. Since she is such a quilter, I think she would enjoy getting one of these quilt inspired cards. Until next time.